Welcome to the 2020 Christmas edition of Sharing Stocks, where we will, before very long here, get into our Christmas wishes for the White Sox and White Sox fans. I think we may have some deviation in who wishes what, but we will see how that comes. I'm Leigh Allan, the duty geezer of Southside Sox, and with us my son, Will Allan, our West Coast correspondent, and strong White Sox fan, Eric Loughlin, making another guest appearance. And we should mention, before we do these Christmas lists, that Eric, as Will and I know, is a power-hitting left-hander who has a very hard time keeping the ball fair, which means he could be the next White Sox designated hitter because he fits right in the
pattern. I think the only prerequisite you have to have for that is not to have weekly grounded out to end a Chicago Theater Softball League playoff game. The bases loaded.
Listen, to my defense, if I had hit that ball, it would have gone real far. So sometimes you gotta play to win, man. That's all.
Oh, that's what you were doing. Interesting.
Yeah.
Before we get to the Christmas list, and I'm sure these guys have very inventive Christmas lists, though mine is by far more important. A few items that are in the news. The most recent, the top one, of course, being that we have a little slap on the wrist for Tony La Russa by the justice system of Maricopa County, Arizona, wherein he was fined to 1 day of staying at home, as opposed to the 9 months of staying at home that the rest of the country has had. Was fined almost 1 hour's pay and sentenced to, I don't know, was it 5 minutes of community service? I think signing an autograph for the judge's granddaughter. So that's cleared up. And he immediately says that he does not have a drinking problem. And I think his statements, like his other statements written by his lawyer, I presume, show that what he mainly has is an arrogance problem. But that is not technically against the law in Arizona or any other state. So he should be okay on that. The White Sox reaction afterwards was as stupid as every White Sox front office reaction is to everything, I think. So you guys have anything to add to that, or have I covered it?
Well, I think 1 day at home when the CDC is recommending everyone stay at home for the next couple months is a perfectly fitting punishment for endangering people's lives while drunk driving. It's pathetic, but what did we expect? He's the he's the top of ego and older white male privilege and all that garbage, and he used it, and now he really isn't being punished. I'm excited to see what his 20 hours of community service are. I hope we see him picking up trash on the Dan Ryan, but I don't think we will.
Signing autographs at the Jewel Osco, Broadway and Lawrence.
He's got to do it in Arizona, though. That's the thing.
Oh, right.
There's no Jewels in Arizona, so
no, I think it's an Albertsons. Albertsons owns Jewels, and they're in Arizona. So
okay, well,
that works out great.
Close enough.
I flew through Maricopa County a few days ago, and I will say it is not as exciting as the news makes it out to be.
All right. Well, glad to hear that. I should say, Will is is actually our Mountain Time Zone correspondent today, since he and his wife are Christmasing alone, not in large group, in Santa Fe.
I think it's the holiday season. I think Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Everybody is funny. You wouldn't even know it's Christmas here.
Santa Claus, Santa Fe.
There we go. Yeah,
they go right together.
Yeah.
Otherwise, in the news, on the actual baseballing front, Yo Cespedes. Raise your hand if you'd heard of him before this week.
As long as he is the same person as Yo Cespedes, I have heard of him.
He is the much younger half brother. He's 23, which is a little old for this. An international signing, not technically signed because I think they can't sign until January 15th,
July.
something like that.
Oh, it's January.
But they've reached an agreement anyhow that the Sox will be picking him up. The ratings on him are all over the map. You have one system that is saying he is the best international prospect there is this year. And you have, it goes all the way to one that doesn't even bother to list him. Any input, guys? We should say he's a now power hitting outfielder, which is a good thing with a lot of speed.
Well, I think one of the reasons that they have a hard time with this is because, you really only get so many chances to see Cubans play professional ball at levels that they're able to quantify. So in other words, when you have high school guys who are coming out of, Southern California or Texas, or you have college students who are going to Cal State Fullerton and they're playing in the Big Ten or the ACC or the SEC, or some of the bigger programs, you have an idea of what the talent level is that they're playing against to compare them to other prospects you've seen at that level. But with these guys coming out of Cuba, I mean, you really only get a chance to see the tools that they have. And now that we have the World Baseball Classic at the very least, you maybe get 17 at-bats where you have a really good idea of what they look like against some level of professional pitching. And even, the World Baseball Classic, depending on who they play, right, are people who exist at different levels of professional baseball. So I think that what happens when I see this for a lot of Cuban guys. The same, what was his, Yasmani Tomas too came out, had like an 80 grade power or 70 grade power or something. And I mean, we all know how he kind of turned out. Same thing with Rusney Castillo, who's still, who's finally in his last year of his $68 million contract in the minors with the Red Sox. So I think the problem really is that you don't have a chance to get any kind of evaluation on these guys against major league or minor league pitching until they hit somebody's system and actually get the chance to face that. So the tools that you get are really just scouts dreaming on makeup, physique, how quick are their hands, how quick are they to first base, how fast do they throw. I think the biggest variance they have is the hit tool, because the hit tool, I think, is really the hardest one to grade if you don't see it against professional pitching. You can clock somebody's arm, right? You can clock how fast they run. You can see when they're in batting practice, ball go far, so they must have some power. But that hit tool is super important because, man, if you have a 30 grade hit tool, you're not a major league player.
Well, it grades out pretty well depending on, again, who's grading, but pretty much across the board. Five
MLB,
tools.
Ridiculous numbers that I'm seeing right now. Just insane numbers. They got a 50 grade hit tool on this guy. That seems high to me.
And I think we would all agree that the one area where the White Sox have shown actual brilliance in the front office, rather than the usual kind of grinding incompetence, is Cuba. I mean, we could have an all Cuban team before very long.
Yeah, I think that's something that's, really exciting about the White Sox. I like that they're going after this guy. Even if he doesn't pan out, I think the risk reward is there. And, any chance we have to sign Cuban players who feel very at home right now on the south side of Chicago, I love that about this team. And I think this team loves that about this team. So I'm all for this. I'm all for this experiment. Why not? If he ends up being what some of the people are saying he could be, even if he ends up being a little less than that, he's still better than Adam Eaton.
Yeah. And the theory is, I mean, he's not major league ready. People are immediately going, well, they could have 1 year of Eaton and then he's gone and in comes Cespedes. A nice hope, but that might be a little much.
That's probably unrealistic. Yeah.
The one thing if they bring him in, so we now we could have a lineup more than half Cuban. They've got to improve the Cuban sandwich at the Gurf.
Oh yeah.
I haven't had the Cuban sandwich at the Gurf. I love Cuban sandwiches. It was a bitter disappointment.
It is like their most disappointing food item.
Yeah, and the food there is generally pretty good, but that one was a huge letdown.
Yeah,
they got to get up to my boys at Cubanito, man. Cubanito's making empanadas and corderitos, and they got a Cubano sandwich. They gotta put a truck down there or something.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, but it has to be helped out. Third piece of news: FanGraphs came out with their prospect lists for the Sox. They're doing it a team at a time. They did the Dodgers first, they did the Sox second. And of course, as is the case with the rating of a Cuban player, prospect ratings are all over the map. But they're grading the top four, no surprise, Andrew Vaughn at a 60. And this is, again, that 20 to 80 scale, which for reasons I do not comprehend has caught on all over Major League Baseball for rating all kinds of stuff. It just doesn't make any sense, but there it is. The next three are Michael Kopech, Nick Madrigal, and Garrett Crochet at 55, 55, and 50. And I would say the 50 is supposed to be a grade up. This guy's going to be a pretty decent Major League player. And we already know Madrigal is showing he's a decent Major League player. Crochet has certainly shown in the majors that he's got the stuff, just a question of where it plays. The next one for the Sox is Jared Kelly, who's not expected in the majors for 4 years at a 45. Those are the only players that they rate 45 or over in the Sox system. So 5 of them, 2 of them have already appeared in the majors. And actually Kopech did it at one point in 2019. The other team that they've done, the Dodgers. How many did the Dodgers have at 45 and above? 15.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
55, 4 at 50, 3 at 45, and 45 plus, and 7 at 45 itself. It doesn't give you a lot of confidence in your system.
Well, the Dodgers are rebuilding, so that makes sense.
So they sent off their major leaguers to load up
that
the farm.
4.5 year where they only won the World Series. Yeah. So one thing I will say about player rankings, as far as future values are concerned, the difference between a 45 and a 40 value level player, believe it or not, is not super duper high.
Agreed. Yeah. So
and I've seen a lot of 40 plus players. I remember I was having this conversation with my dad with the Yankees. Had all their starters hurt and had all these guys up in the show, like Gio Urshela, who people had, Tim Voigt, people had never heard of before. And I mean, those were 40, 45 value level guys. So I think the good news that I'm looking at for the White Sox is, I've seen a lot of teams that don't have a lot of 40, 45 level guys at all. They've got 3, they've got 4. So one of the things that the Dodgers do very well, that the Sox seem like they're finally doing, at least with some competence, is having a lot of those guys. When you talk about a trade, you talk about like a pitcher who's got, like a lottery ticket arm, right? Those are 40, 45 level guys. They've got 1+ pitch. They've got maybe 2+ pitches. They have no idea where they're going, but they've got a live arm. Or you've got somebody down in the show who's, got a plus power, but is striking out 28% of the time at the minor league level, 23%. So they're guys who can, if they can figure out one of their tools, can break above that ceiling and be regular contributors, but they still have polishing to do. So, the Dodgers are going to be the Dodgers. They're going to have a lot of that depth. They have the ability to throw their money around at the international signing periods and doing these small trades with people. That's one of the things Friedman is really good at, is finding those guys who sit in that 40, 45 plus level and end up being contributors at the major league level.
The bigger help, though, on the 40, 45s would be if we all trusted our development system.
Very true.
Hard to trust our development system. It does not have a good history.
And who is in charge of that? Eric Loughlin's favorite player, Chris Getz.
Every middle infielder is going to hit 260, you guys. Every one of those middle.
Then 220.
And then 220, and then get traded to the.
I mean, what this FanGraphs thing really tells me about the White Sox is that, we really are in a win now situation. With those numbers, everything Eric said, spot on. But you really have to hope that they do break that ceiling in one category. What this tells me is, now is the time to win and do what you have to win. This year and next year being the main time frame for that. Remember
that being the case,
We used to sit around and talk about how great the White Sox farm system was. That was cool.
It goes quick these days.
Yeah, it does.
And part of the reason it's not very good is because they brought up some very good players.
Exactly. It's paid off.
Luis Robert out of your farm system, all of a sudden it goes down a lot.
Yeah.
No question about that.
And the same will happen once Madrigal's a regular and once Crochet is a regular. I expect them to both make great strides in Major League Baseball this next year. And then Kopech is a big question mark, but he's got the tools, and we'll just see what Cats can do with him and hopefully get him ready for Major League Baseball.
He's the one. I mean, of all the young guys coming right along, sort of, other than Giolito had proven himself already before this year, who I thought was going to make the breakthrough was Kopech.
Yeah.
And I have no great, wonderful statistical backup or pitch analysis or anything else to back that up, but I just rated him, in my mind, well over your buddy Dylan Cease and Lopez and so on along the line. And I hope it turns out that was a good cast. I think this is a good time. We're talking about what we're looking for, what we're hoping for. You want to take the break and come back and do the Christmas wish list?
Yeah, let's do it. We've got our White Sox and baseball Christmas wish list coming up, but let's take a quick break. See you in a minute. And we're back. Time for a little holiday cheer, Christmas list, or whatever holiday you celebrate. This is our holiday list, wish list for baseball. I have 6 items on my list. How would you guys like to do this? Would you like to go full lists or one at a time? What are you thinking?
Let's go full list. Eric's a guest. I think he should be allowed to come in here and make his wish list, and we can poo-poo it and move on from there.
Great. Let's hear it, Eric. What do you got?
Mine's shorter than yours. So the first thing on my Christmas wish list is that Andrew Vaughn pans out to be a plus player. I think that's an all-star. And I think that's really critical for 2 reasons. One is, I think with McCann obviously being gone and Encarnacion being gone, they do have a spot for him at the very least to play. And if they don't have a spot for him to play, one of the things I think about when you talk about being in win now mode is having a blue chip prospect that you can dangle for somebody who's going to bring you wins during the midpoint of the season or during the off season next year. So I think him panning out as a 60 plus, he's got a 60 future value tag. He was the most polished hitter coming out of college. I think he has to get to the major league level and be ready to go next year. That would be the first thing on my Christmas wish list.
Can't argue with that.
The second thing for me, Kopech needs to bounce back and needs to also be, a legitimate number 2, number 3 guy. I think that a lot of the evaluations of the team from last year involve him being on the roster. A lot of the team's evaluations over the past 2 years have involved him being a plus guy. We talked earlier in the program about how the White Sox draft and develop, especially how pitching has drafted and developed for them has been a concern. And so one of the things is, you really need that young. I mean, you look at the Mets, right? The Mets have stayed competitive just on the backs of having Syndergaard and DeGrom turn out as being 2, borderline Cy Young candidates every year, despite being owned by the Wilpons and being poorly run otherwise. So, between those 2 guys, if you can get really good seasons out of Giolito and you can get really good seasons out of Kopech, plus Vaughn, plus Abreu is already playing at an MVP caliber level. There's talent across now you're looking at a championship team, right? You've got 2 plus starters. You've got Keuchel, who's got experience. You've got offense all across the board. You've got quality young players. You've got bats who can't pitch around. I mean, that to me is a team that goes in to play guys like the Yankees and the Astros and the Dodgers. And doesn't walk into those games thinking they're going to get beat.
Plus, you've got a really solid 3 or 4 in Lance Lynn as well now.
Yeah. I mean, exactly.
Comes out firing. It's going to look really good.
I mean, if you go Kopech, Giolito, Kopech, Keuchel, Lynn. I mean, that's 4 starters that will get you through the regular season, Plus, if you have to narrow it down in the playoffs, I mean, you could pitch Lynn long out of the bull. You could pitch one of those guys long out of the bullpen if you absolutely had to in a short game series, which they probably won't need to do. But, you know, having that fourth arm, having that third and fourth arm. I mean, look at other teams where that hurt the Yankees, but didn't have to hurt the Astros sometimes. I mean, those were back when the Astros had, like, you know, Greinke and Verlander and McCullers, and were just coming at you with. There was never an off game, right? In a playoff setting, there was never a gimme pitcher, and we kind of were even talking on this program about, if we went deep into the playoffs, right, who's going to get game 3, who's going to get game 4, and so on and so forth. So having Kopech come out and being a bona fide number 2, man, even a number 3 guy, you know, a plus pitcher I think is going to help them a lot in the regular season, the offseason.
You know,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Just speaking of, though, the pitching depth of the 4 great pitchers to get you through the playoffs, 2005 comes to mind.
Yeah. Good point. Really good point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those guys were, you know, and I don't think any of those guys in 2005, I think Burley was like, what, 6th or 7th in the Cy Young voting or something, but it was Garcia and, what's the name of that other?
Garland.
Esteban Loaiza, right, was on that team?
And John Garland was
John Garland. Yeah, but I mean, it was all solid, you know, and the Sox obviously, you know, boomed into the playoffs and didn't look back. But you had 4 solid guys who, you know, yeah, we're going to give the ball to him. Of course, we're going to give the ball to him. Of course, we're going to give the ball to him. These were the horses who brought us to the dance, and we're going to ride them the rest of the way. So I think that's pitching is going to be certainly a big deal.
One more.
And the last thing on my Christmas list is, please, Tony La Russa, just don't suck. Don't prove everyone right. Please, please, please make us eat all our words and come in with an open mind and come in with a positive attitude and not bring drama to the clubhouse, and let the guys play on the field, and don't be someone who's impeding the kind of change that this team has been, that the fans have been asking for years, after seeing it on the north side and having it shoved down our throats for 4 years. You know, and just let these guys go out there and play and have a good time and be a smart manager, and don't drink and drive, man.
Can't argue that. All right, I'm going to throw out my list. There's no reason to discuss it because it's all correct. Number 1 on my list, mine's a little more expansive for baseball. I want Yolmer to start 161 games in Baltimore. Number 2, I want the White Sox to re-sign Colomé for a good price. Number 3, I want the Cubs to lose 150 games.
Oof.
Number 4, I want the White Sox and Braves in the World Series. I think it would be exciting.
Ooh.
Number 5, I want the entire Yankees starting lineup to go on the DL with non-career ending injuries. And my number 1 item on my list is I want Jeff Bagwell to get a reality TV show that takes place in the checkout aisle of a supermarket called You Better Bag Well.
Oh my God, I would watch that. I would watch that. And it's just people giving him multiple items and he's got to bag them while he's talking about how he was a 40-40 first baseman one time. Do you remember that guy used to steal bases?
That dude used to steal bases.
He used to run amok around the league. God,
well, I don't have a lot of faith in any of my wishes coming true. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see if
Bagswell has so many legs.
And Yolmer, you know, if he can't start 161 for Baltimore, I'd like them to release him so he can start 161 for us.
In whatever position.
Doesn't matter.
Pitching. We know he can pitch.
I would jump over my own mother to watch Yolmer Sanchez pitch. All right. My mom's not very tall, so that's probably pretty.
All right, Dad, what do you got?
I was thinking a little bigger than you guys. And of course, having been in business before, I thought first of the business end. And what I would like to do is a deal off the top with the Dodgers, where we would get Magic Johnson, Billie Jean King, and other members of the Guggenheim Group in exchange for Jerry Reinsdorf and a general manager to be named later.
That's a good trade.
a really
I think
good
that
trade.
would do more for the White Sox
Really
than
good
anything
trade.
else that we could possibly come up with.
Why do you think the Dodgers would be attracted to that deal?
I don't know why, but weather's been bad in Los Angeles, as you know. Maybe those people might want to get out of town and come to a nice weather place like Chicago.
Probably true.
That's a really good point.
I don't think Magic Johnson really enjoys.
He went to Michigan State. That is a sensible drive from Chicago.
Yeah. Go see his
That's
old buddies.
true.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Billie Jean King played tennis tournaments here. So
Yeah.
And could do year round in an indoor facility.
yes.
That's very well heated.
What else is on your list?
Okay, number 2, I hope that Tony La Russa on Christmas Eve gets his usual blotto, gets into his car, backs out of his driving, now with no injuries to himself or anyone else. I want to make this perfectly clear. Swerves around, goes down the street, and rams into a fire hydrant that is set off. It happens to be in the yard of the police chief of that jurisdiction and across the street from the main cameraman at the top-rated police station, TV station. So that it cannot possibly be overlooked. And the White Sox statement about doesn't get a third strike will have to be imposed. I think that's a fair one right there. And if it happens to wait until New Year's Eve instead of Christmas Eve, okay. But I think it's more fitting on Christmas Eve.
Well, first off, I think that's called Tiger Woodsing. I think that I like that wish. I think it's sensible. Nobody gets hurt. TV.
No, we don't want any injuries here.
Ratings. Yeah, I think that's sensible.
I think it's only Tiger Woodsing if his wife clubs out his back window. Is it still okay if she uses a baseball bat? Because I don't know if La Russa's got golf clubs yet. So.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. Yeah,
I'm sure he does. Yeah. What
am
I thinking?
Okay, and just a couple. If you're going to make a Christmas wish that involves trades, it's Christmas, right? No reason to be reasonable about this at all. Adam Eaton and Dylan Cease to the Tampa Bay Rays for Blake Snell and Randy Arozarena.
Ooh, fair.
First off, that trade will happen. If
fair.
it gets proposed, that's a lock.
Well, I mean, it's an outfielder and a pitcher for an outfielder and a pitcher. I think, even up.
Well, the thing that's interesting about that trade, though, is, Snell's a Cy Young winner, but Cease is a future 4-time Cy Young winner. So I think in the long run, that's not a good trade.
Even. Also, we were talking about scouting grades earlier.
But remember, we're looking at this year and next year. So in the short term, I think I come out ahead here.
Adam Eaton has 80 grade clubhouse presence too. So that was
yeah, but clubhouse presence is on that weird 80 to 280 scale that they.
Oh, I did not know that. I did not know that. Here, I thought it was good, and it's actually horrible. Well,
we actually, as a throw-in to make Tampa Bay go for the trade, we'll give them Drake LaRoche too.
No, we can't do that.
Whoa. Our first baseman of the future?
Drake LaRoche he's our 145 prospect, so we got to keep him and hope that he develops.
And he's team leader.
Yeah.
Trust me from experience, the homeschoolers are the ones who bang the hardest. Trust me.
That is that. My other trade.
Homeschooler myself.
Crosstown. Reynaldo Lopez, even up for you, Darvish.
Ooh, yeah. Fair.
They get the younger guy with more future to him.
Less expensive.
That makes total sense. I think that makes total sense. But I think they should have to eat most of Darvish's salary.
No, we've already gotten rid of Jerry. We've got actual corporate people in charge with money. We can afford his salary.
I didn't realize this was contingent on your first trade. So you made that. Oh, okay, cool. Those are good deals. I mean, I think all of those are reasonable, holiday wish list material. Not quite as realistic as my Jeff Bagwell grocery bagging reality competition program.
So
but they're real as well. Any other final wishes from anyone out there?
I'm done. I don't want to be greedy.
That's it. Fair. Eric, you got any other wishes?
Oh boy.
Sounds like no.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it was like, I'm trying hard to think of a Steve Cohen Twitter joke because his Twitter account has been amazing for the Mets.
You know what? I'm gonna add one more wish, and it's a wish for Eric. And I'm going to wish that James McCann has a great season next year. Eric if you don't know, Eric's a big Mets fan from his childhood back home. James McCann, you do know, has signed with the Mets. And I'm a big fan of James. I hope he goes to New York, and I hope this was probably going to be his one big deal. So I hope that
he got paid. He got paid.
He got paid. He earned getting paid. He's a great presence in the clubhouse, and I hope he brings a lot of that success to Queens. That would be
well.
pretty.
If the Mets play the Cubs, and you're right, Will, that's going to be games that we all sweep. Ain't no way the Cubs' 12 losses are going to come against the boys in New York. 12 wins, excuse me, 12 wins.
Well, to our
12 and 150 next year.
To our somewhere between 5 and 5,000 listeners, feel free to comment, hit us with your holiday wishes for this upcoming year. And of course, we wish everyone very safe holidays. Stay safe, stay healthy. Do the best you can. I know it's sad, it sucks for everyone, but this is what we got to do this year, is to make 2021 a year where we get to sit in the stadium and watch the White Sox win the World Series.
We hope. That's another good Christmas wish.
Yep, that would be the best. So any final words from anyone?
Just a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and stay healthy.
Go Bills.
You've heard from me, Eric, and the Geezer. We'll see you next time. Be safe.
Goodbye.